Great. Welcome to Higher Africa. This podcast is about people that are building the Africa's next great infrastructure, the Africa's next talent, and the Africa's next sustainable growth, essentially. So today I have one of the persons that I believe she's not celebrated enough. I believe she's a force for good, specifically when it comes to corporate work, but also the direction that the country has to focus on, and specifically for women. I think I'm not going to center on that one so much, but today I have Chikondi Kanyenda. Chikondi Kanyenda is because people told me that I have to introduce my guest, so I'll have to do that because people are always like, I have to do it the ordinary way because ideally I wouldn't do it like this. But yeah, Chikondi Kanyenda is an executive director, which covers, of course, marketing, brand awareness, and communications at Devdraft.
That's correct.
Devdraft. But I know Chikondi from a way back when we were working together with the British Council. When was that?
That was in 2018 all the way to 2022, 21.
21.
I believe, yeah. You're one of my bosses.
Weird, huh?
Very.
Yeah. So I remember those days. You were focusing on education, right?
Yes.
Connecting classrooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Education program.
Education program.
Yeah.
Connecting classrooms. What else were we doing that side?
A soccer program.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah.
Our shared goal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Those were the days. But yeah.
Long time back.
I remember you left. You left me there. But you left. Yes, you left to pursue your dreams in building different brands.
Yes.
You have done so many things in between. And also left, I think, 2021.
Yeah.
You left in 2021, right?
Yes.
You also left. Yes, I left at the very end in December.
Yes.
Wow. Anyway, for everyone else that was at British Council,
yes.
Dennis Imani,
Atupele Moyo, Martha, Linley, Chisomo.
Yeah.
Good times.
No, they watch this podcast for the sake of that. For the sake of the history, right?
Shout out, guys.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. But yeah, it was an amazing time. I think we did some great work with the British Council. And I think it taught us a lot of things.
Yes, it did.
I think
it's how we ended up here.
I think, yeah. Sometimes when you're working for like an organization, you don't think about the lessons you're getting during the time that you're doing the work.
Definitely.
But when things change, when you start now moving from one organization to another organization, you start saying, okay, fine, I'll let this there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, let's talk about it. I know that you have brought me the best news that I was waiting for.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I hope it's the best news for everyone.
I hope it is. I hope it is because, if you're in Africa and you're thinking about receiving money, but also moving money within Africa, cross-border payments, or even just paying people who have done some tasks for you, freelancers getting their money from different platforms, it's a big issue.
Definitely.
Right?
Yes.
But there's a company that you're working with right now where you are the executive director.
That's correct.
Wow, that's a senior position. That's a good one. Tell me more about Devdraft because it sounds so techy.
Sure. So Devdraft is a payment infrastructure that allows people to move money globally on blockchain-supported rails, right? And so what that means is that, yes, SMEs can actually make payments, but what it also means is that we are building an infrastructure that allows really big enterprises and corporations to come to Africa and know that they won't have any issues moving money, right? in Africa, across the continent, and also across the globe as well. So when you think of Amazon right now, that has presence now, right, and is really exploring the African market, or when you think about what it would look like for Netflix to be able to aggregate payments, right, we want to be here so that by the time they're getting here, we can serve them. And that's really the goal of Devdraft. And on the SME, when it comes to SMEs in Africa, it's important to note that there's over 385 million SMEs on the continent.
Serious?
Yes.
Wow.
And 51% of them don't have access to global payment systems, which means you can receive money from outside, but you actually can't keep it in a stable wallet, right? And we want to fix that. But also, as you said, if you hired somebody on the continent, now you have issues with paying them, right? You have so many intermediaries, you have disruptions in cash flows. Even when someone sends you money from outside, how many days does it take you to actually get the money?
Yeah, it's a big problem.
Now imagine you're an SME based in Nigeria running a factory, and you've been able to get a global order, and that money is going to take somewhere from 7 days if it doesn't get lost in order for you to get it. And you've got staff members to pay. You've got payroll to look after. We want to fix that problem. And we want to make sure that people can get paid, but also get paid instantly. So we are speaking of reflection speeds of 30 seconds to 2 minutes on the blockchain. And that's why we're building our infrastructure there.
Wow. Okay. That was a pitch. That was a serious pitch.
It's a serious product.
Yeah, it's a serious product, and that was a serious pitch. But anyway, from event launches, because you are coming from a place where you've been launching events for different people.
That's correct.
You've done global advocacy campaigns and to fintech and even thinking about the stable coins and the whole blockchain wallet kind of offer. Your journey is very interesting. How do you see, what kind of changes have you seen personally that you think now the Devdraft offer is going to fix based on the work that you've done, based on the people that you've served?
Yeah, a lot of it is really just payment infrastructure systems, right?
Yeah.
So we've got traditional payment systems, and they don't usually work the best. That's not saying they're not functional. It's saying that they are capabilities that blockchain payment rails are able to give, that they're able to give creatives, they're able to give agencies, right?
Yeah.
They're able to give international companies that want to trade in Africa and grow in Africa.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, from all the work that I've done, in every place I have actually had a payment issue, or the companies that are working in Africa, whether they're African or not, they just always have a payment issue.
Yeah.
If they're engaging consultants, there's a payment issue.
Yeah.
If they want to buy product, there is a payment issue. There are payment issues everywhere. And so the reason I think that Devdraft, and not only think, the reason I know Devdraft is a great product is because everybody has a payment problem that Devdraft can solve.
Wow. Okay. Feels like the pitch is getting much interesting. But anyway, I hear you.
Yes.
I think working from Malawi for a long time and working with different organizations across the globe, but even also different companies, private companies across the globe, no one can say that payments are always linear, right? I think it has always been a very difficult process. I have a friend I was helping today, and he's always watching this episode. So he gets paid online from wherever you work. I think he works on Upwork or somewhere, and he's getting money. But for him just to get the money to the country becomes a bit difficult. And people that are ambitious, people that are exploring the digital economy, they know how difficult it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And there are so many solutions. I know solutions are being built, solutions within the country, but also solutions that are coming in as these ones. For me, I'm most interested with the founder stories.
Yes.
Because when I was checking the brief for this offer under the Devdraft,
yes,
I noted that it is Y Combinator backed
That's correct.
African startup.
Yes.
And I
that's
know
correct.
for you to even be part of the Y Combinator is not easy.
Of course.
It's a difficult process just to compete with so many startups for you just to be even be recognized. Tell me more about the founders. Like, who are these people?
Okay, sure. So the founders are African founders. The first founder, her name is Sally, Sally Fianji Namwila, and she's a software engineer. She's worked for Microsoft, and she's worked for Amazon as well. She's a graduate of Dartmouth College. And so she applied for the Y Combinator program and was the third Zambian to get in and the first Zambian woman. So that should tell you how fantastic and gifted she is.
Yeah.
But gifting always needs partnership.
Yeah.
So her co-founder is Boris Manda,
Yeah.
and he has worked for several companies in the US. Live Nation being one of them. And he concentrates around accounting and finance. And he's really, really great. He's our COO at the moment. He's great at operations. He's great at finance. He's great at understanding the global markets, which is his area of specialization. So those are the founders. The founder story is that they applied for Y Combinator because they had traveled back home. So they both lived in the US. They traveled back home and were trying to make payments for, the local Airbnb that they had found there, payments for different services. And it was just such a hassle. And that gave them the aha moment of like, this is actually a big problem and the two of us could really fix it. And that's how they applied and went through the program. And now they're backed.
Wow. Amazing. That's a lot of interesting stories coming together. Yeah, and I think one of the things that is quite unique in the story of these two founders is one is technical and one is finance.
Yes.
And if you're thinking about fintech, if you want to venture in that kind of space, you can go there, of course, as just a developer. But I think you need to have that kind of domain expertise in financial technology.
Definitely.
Because that space is complicated. That space is complicated. Sometimes you think you are innovating while you're not.
Yes.
But I'm happy to hear about it. And I think one time, if they're in Malawi, I think it would be an interesting honor of this platform to have them here and just chat about their experiences in the US, but also how they find this problem being so true to the core of Africa.
Yeah,
'Cause it is.
definitely.
Yeah.
It really is. And Boris and Sally, that's your invitation.
Yeah.
McDonald would love to have you.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they actually lived outside and experienced those issues, now think about those of us who actually live on the continent, right? And just how much more pronounced those issues are at the SME level, at the enterprise level, at the individual and freelancer level. And that's really what we want to fix. We want to bring global payments.
And you see, sometimes we think about these things as a norm. So we are used to having a problem where we have someone in the States or a friend in Britain or somewhere who are trying as much as possible to send us money.
Yes.
Or we are trying to send them money, because it's not always us receiving money. It's also us sending them money.
Yeah.
But the challenge has always been the same, that we struggle to find like a solution that works every time. I think it's a crazy one. But anyway, there are so many things that I find with your offer. When I was checking the website, I saw the enterprise APIs. I saw the stable wallets. I saw helping freelancers to get paid and to move money, whatever. Who is your client?
Our core client at the moment has to be B2B transactions. Okay. So I name dropped a few: Amazon, Netflix, Yango, Uber. If you want to come to the continent in countries that you're not present, Devdraft is your is your payment infrastructure that you can use to do that. So it's really that B2B transaction to start off with. And then it's also just like penetration with SMEs, giving access to global markets. I think a lot of like Africa's GDP is actually constrained by the fact that we have so many payment issues, and the payment system at the moment is so fragmented. There's so many intermediaries, and the charges are very, very high. So if you could receive money easily, if you could spend money easily, and if you could move money around easily with cross-border payments, not just globally as well, but even
within
on
the
the continent. Imagine what we could do.
We could do a lot. Because if you think about it, even if I am thinking of buying something in Tanzania, even if I think about buying something in Botswana, the hassle of just thinking of, so how do I convert? Or how do I do this? It's a big issue. And sometimes I know we don't pay attention to this because we don't think about these markets. But think about someone who's building a project in Malawi, but they're thinking global, like us. Because High Africa is also building some like products that are focusing on Malawi, but also focusing on other African countries. And I've always thought about this problem. Like, how will I connect people that will be working with me in other countries? How will I pay them? If all I am receiving through is through what I have right now, how will I pay them and ensure that there is no problem with payroll issues?
That's where I think the Devdraft wallet is great. So I'm jumping ahead into the features because I think they solve most of these payment problems, right? So when you think of the Devdraft wallet, it's actually a combination between fiat currencies and blockchain currencies. And the blockchain currencies that we use are USDC and EUR. So they're stable coin that is pegged to that currency, right? So to the dollar and to the euro. So if you've got 10 in USDC, you've actually got $10, right? And what the wallet allows you to do on the traditional side is to actually have a virtual bank account that is in USD and that is in euro. What that means is that you can receive money internationally in both of those wallets. Then it allows you to also have stablecoin wallets, right? So the USDC wallet, the EUR wallet. You can convert between those wallets. So if you've got USDC and you want to buy goods in TZ, you can actually convert that USDC into US dollar and you can trade and buy, right? And you can purchase those products, and those products will then reach you here. So you don't have to think about how will I convert, how will I? And then when it comes to the supplier in Tanzania, they can receive your US dollar on the Devdraft wallet, and they can hold it in the wallet, right? So because the US dollar and the euro, they're more stable. So they're able to hold that currency. And when they're ready to actually spend it locally, they can then off-ramp, right? Using local systems. And that's another phase of where the business is going into. So that people can off-ramp and they can spend locally. And also they can have the access of global spending. So we're really at that intersection of like the traditional payment systems and the payment systems of the future. And
Amazing.
I think that would help you with the issue you just spoke about.
Yeah, true. And because most of the people right now, they prefer to receive money in crypto because of the opportunity that it provides. And I think USDC and the euro equivalent of the same, they provide that kind of opportunity. I have that in some of my accounts, part of my portfolio. And I think you have the liberty. You feel good that, okay, fine, whatever happens, I'm okay. Right? And I think
stability.
That stability is what people are looking for. And if this provides, if this offer comes to other SMEs specific, if you focus on SMEs who are always struggling with it, okay, fine, our currency is down. Oh, what is this? Has happened. If this is fixed at that level, they're paid properly and they can hoard those wallets and they can always do the exchange later on. Wow, that's amazing.
And why wouldn't you use Devdraft?
Well, cool. When is it launching? That's the next question.
Great. So Devdraft on the global scale has gone through 3 different phases. So our first phase was going through Y Combinator and actually building the MVP, building the product itself.
Yeah.
And then the second phase, which is why I'm here, is actually because we have an early access pilot program, because we don't just want to build a product that we think works for the continent and for the globe.
Yeah.
We actually want people to tell us how it works, what we could add on, and what we could tweak to make the product better.
Yeah.
So on June the 30th, we've got our early access pilot program.
Okay.
And globally, people can sign on, they can join our wait list, and then they can try out the product. And they can become a part of the Devdraft story by actually telling us, how it works well for them or where it doesn't, so that we create a product that is for the global market with a focus on the African continent. So that's where we're at. Phase 3 is then localization and licensing and making sure that people can off-ramp.
Yeah.
But phase 2 is why I'm here,
Yeah.
to speak about that product availability.
And phase
pilot.
2 is very important. What you've mentioned is what most of the people that are developing in Africa, the miss is
Yeah.
developing for users.
Yes.
And not developing for the vibes or developing for your ambitions of growing, developing a product that you have seen somewhere working and you just want to replicate it without even the customization of the user's insights in it.
Yes.
Speak to me about this idea of building with the user in mind versus building just for building.
Okay. I don't know if you noticed a few weeks ago, there was quite a lot of fire on LinkedIn because there was this picture of people who had raised a lot of money for Africa.
Yes. I didn't want to ask about these founders, whether they are Africans or Africans by affiliation.
Yes. So those who understand. And I'm going to leave that on the side.
That story is crazy. I saw that story.
Yes.
I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But you see, one thing that I learned from that story is that Africa
Must build its own solution.
But also Africa is where the money is going.
Yes.
And I think developers or people that are building in different spaces, because they have maxed the opportunities in those continents, they're also coming in Africa and building products for Africa without the Africans.
Like I said, those who get it, get it.
Yeah,
so
they get it.
that's on that.
Yeah.
But I think what it takes to build a product that works for the continent is to actually have it built by Africans.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we have at Devdraft. And then it tested on the continent and globally, right? I do think a lot of creation of a product that works for the continent really starts with that local building and then opening it up and shipping that product globally.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, then we can build something that actually works on the ground. Now, you and I have done a lot of project management, and with that, what we always learn is that somebody else builds this beautiful, a consultant, and I'm a consultant.
Yes, I'm also a consultant.
So, no hate to the consultants, but what usually happens is that you've got a consultant who builds this beautiful document and it works from where they're sitting, but it doesn't work on the ground. And how many times have we had to tweak or pivot, right? Project documents, because what the strategy said, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work in this
doesn't
context.
work on the ground.
Okay. What is important with products is that we have to always think about the people that we build for. And if we don't do that, we lose the opportunity of getting as many people as possible on board. I know consumer dynamics are there where you can have, let's say out of 10, you'd have 5 who say we like this feature, 5 or 2 who say we like that feature, and the other 3 says we like that feature, not the other feature. But I think you play the game of moving around and playing around the features and stuff like that. And I think what you're doing with this phase 2 is very important. Unlike just going into the market and just say, okay, fine, we're in Malawi, we're in this, we're doing XYZ. So I like how you're thinking. And I think maybe because of the founders, they've been around, and because they're also Y Combinator kind of backed, and they know how that is more or less like a prerequisite. You don't build without the user.
You must test first.
You must test first.
Yeah.
And I like it. So yeah, I think I need to join on the waiting list. Yeah, I need to. I saw it on the website, so I need to make sure that at least I place my my email there and then be part of people that can test the platform. Amazing. Let's talk about infrastructure. Why does infrastructure narrative matter as much as the app story, specifically if you're building in the African fintech? Why is it important to think infrastructure and not just thinking, okay, I have the next app, I have this app? Why is it important to think infrastructure?
It's so important to think infrastructure, especially on the continent, because what you see is you see the next generation of Africans building with an infrastructure that's non-existent, right? So then we have a lot of products, but they don't have the right infrastructure to back them up, right? So in other countries, there's sandboxes. In other countries, there's when you speak about blockchain, right? On the global scale, blockchain has been around for ages, but the uptake in Africa is so low, right? With the biggest uptake of blockchain being in Nigeria. So in all of these other countries, when we're speaking about blockchain supported payment rails, everybody's a little bit lost.
Yeah, it's like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, if you go to like other nations, when you go to the US, when you go to the UK, Europe, when you speak about blockchain, it's actually very normal, right? So now you've got this access to the global digital space. And you've got developers now sitting in Malawi and sitting in Zambia and sitting in all of these other countries building a product, right, that can actually work, but the infrastructure isn't there. And sometimes even the regulation isn't there. And so infrastructure is so important because it positions it to support industries for the future. Because African youth are already futuristic. You're building ahead of the infrastructure. Now the infrastructure is playing catch up just so the product that we're building can work. And I think that's a real problem. Infrastructure conversations should be had at government level. Infrastructure problems and conversations should be had on a continent level, so that any product that is actually African built for Africans has the infrastructure to support it so it can work. And only when it works here, only when it's tested and proven here, can we then say to the global digital space, come and partake of this thing. And it's actually worked here. What we currently have are products that are built here and are tested globally first, right? Just because that infrastructure isn't there. So infrastructure is so important to discuss, and it's so important to build now before products are built. Otherwise, infrastructure is always going to play catch up to technology.
Yeah, true. And I think, I know everyone is excited to build the next app. And I think we're all building apps. And I'm building this app on that app. But we also have to work together to also think about how do we fix the infrastructure that we have. Because if we don't, the challenge is you have the best ideas, but those ideas can only work in a different country. And if they can only work in a different country, you do not have the liberty, because you don't belong in that country, for you to launch that product there. So you end up not doing anything with that idea, or you just sell it, or you just live with that idea and have it in your laptop or somewhere in a certain domain. And what happens is you just find other people have worked on that product, and you're like, okay, I thought about it and I built it. So the infrastructure is very important, and we need to invest our time. Even if you're building, you just a developer, you need to invest your time to go in these forums, ICT association, or just be part of the discussions that are happening in all these hotels where people are talking about the future of Malawi.
Groups as well,
because it's very important for us to make sure that our infrastructure is ready for the kind of development that the new generation is focusing on right now.
Definitely.
And I can tell you one thing, that I've been involved in the discussion around blockchain for Malawi, because So we with the UNDP has been working on this, and this
Yeah.
is a good exploration of blockchain assessment within the country to understand what is happening. And you'll be surprised that within this country, people are already trading, people are doing so many things.
Yes.
And it's important now for authorities, when that report has been authenticated and has been accepted, and the strategy that is attached to it has been accepted, to now look into setting up what the country would do when something like that comes. If a company comes through and says, we want to set up something like this, they should have a set. So, okay, fine, this is what we know about this technology, and this is what we would do. And this is our sandboxing offer, and this is what you can do to test, and we're happy to help.
Yeah.
And I think that happens only if organizations, if people are invested in understanding that we need to fix infrastructure. We need to do that. It's a need. It's not a want. An app can be a want. It's like, yeah, we want that app, but we don't. Sometimes we don't need that app. But the infrastructure is what we need,
Necessary.
and allow developers to jump into that. Okay, fine. One of the things that is very important with Devdraft is that you serve freelancers, remote teams, and platforms like High Africa, like us, right?
Yeah.
And you and I have spoken about this before, even this. To say, if there's a challenge that we deal with, if you're building something that is cross or is multinational, is how you're going to deal with payment within that kind of setup. Can you go back to this just to explain in detail how it is important and how you're fixing this problem? Where if someone is building a product in Mozambique, they shouldn't be worried that, okay, fine, if I push it to Malawi, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, how am I going to pay people that are there? How are you solving this problem? You come back to it. I know we spoke about this specifically referencing the Tanzania, if as an SME is trying to buy something, but talk about it in a sense of now the workforce, people that are working in different countries and they want to get paid.
Okay. So for people who are working in different countries and they want to get paid, right, we have several solutions for them. One of the solutions, and it sits under enterprises, so I'll go back there because I think SMEs and enterprises, they have similar needs. It's just a difference of scale.
Yeah.
So what we have is we have a code solution and a no-code solution, right? And so what that looks like is that if you're a freelancer or an SME, you can actually sign up for a Devdraft wallet, and then you can create invoices in the wallet. You can send people payment links in the wallet. You can collect payments. And then also you have audit trails and role-based access. So that's on the money-making side of things. You can also have an inventory. There's an inventory management system there where you can upload your goods and you're able to see, okay, I sold this many items. I've got this many items left. And you can reconfirm the inventory that you have. As I say, that's on the money-making side of things. Now, when it comes to the operational side of things, if you've got staff members who sit in different positions in different countries, what you then can do is you can get everybody to get a Devdraft wallet, right? And you can actually do payroll through the Devdraft wallet. So it's either you do individual payments or you can do a bulk upload of payments so that you pay all of your staff members at once.
Wow.
And when you tell them you're paying them now, it reflects within 30 seconds to 2 minutes.
30 seconds to 2 minutes.
It's blockchain rails. They're almost instant.
Wow. Amazing. That sounds cool, right? Anyway, we'll consider that.
Yeah. You should consider it. It's what Higher Africa needs.
Yeah.
It's what SMEs and enterprises need as well.
True. I agree with you. Your role is quite interesting because I know that you have done comms.
Yeah.
I remember when we were working in that previous job, you were given like as an extension of your role to also do some bit of comms. How do you look at comms being important, specifically because some of these things are new technologies and people have doubts? Sometimes you say, okay, fine, blockchain is always associated with maybe a bit of mistrust.
Yes.
Maybe rock pulls happening here and there. What is the role of communication, and how would you see yourself helping the ecosystem in Malawi and within the region to demystify the whole
Okay.
concept
Yeah.
of using blockchain as part of payments, but also the security that is part of it, and ensuring that everybody is winning in the space.
Yeah. So I think you actually took the one word answer that I was going to give you,
Yeah.
right? So my job is to demystify.
Yeah.
And so it's to really turn what is a complex system
Yeah.
and to actually communicate it in a way that can be understood and understood well, not with a certain vagueness about what it is.
Yeah.
So there's certain things about our platform. We're
Yeah.
not trading cryptocurrency and we're not trading blockchain. That's
Yeah.
not what we're doing.
Yeah.
What we are doing is we're using that infrastructure so that you can
Yes.
send money and receive money instantly, right? So that's what we're doing. And if I can explain that in a way in which you understand it and in a way in which SMEs understand it and individuals understand it,
Yeah.
then I think I've done my job.
Yeah.
And I really think that even when it comes to communications on the continent, right,
Yeah.
whether it's for fintech companies, whether it's for projects,
Yeah.
that's really the job, to demystify in such a way in which what I say and what you understand are exactly the same thing.
True.
And if we can do that with our audiences because we understand them and then we get instant feedback so that we can iron out any places of misunderstanding, then Africans will always be empowered with information. Then they can use products that are built for them. And I hope we can do that at Devdraft.
You are doing it.
Thank you.
You are doing it because one of the problems that we have is that we are not so intentional about communicating about some of these things. And I know sometimes it's about how we want to stay quiet about our products and so forth and just launch without thinking about people that are supposed to use the product because they need to be aware. So it's very important because I saw something, brand awareness, in your title, which is very important. People need to be aware
Of
about these
course.
things. And I think it's no secret that blockchain is doing amazing work in the space. And people that are using blockchain to do so many things are benefiting.
Yes.
They're reaping the benefits of using that technology. And I think people need to know about that. Amazing. Anyway, let's pivot a bit.
Yes.
Because I know you from the work that you've done before. So apart from we work together, but you also moved on to do a couple of other work, like you did Dance for Wash campaign. This is the time you did like the Shift campaign with my friend there. Why am I forgetting his name? He's gonna
Crispin.
say Crispin.
Butter.
Yes,
Yes.
Butter. Yeah, my God! And now they have Bright there. Yes. Managing the Shift program, which is an amazing program. I've seen so many benefits. I had one of the people that is it Shift? No, but I think it's to Save the Children, and that has been doing some amazing work. You've been working on all these things. What has this project taught you about African audiences and behavior change? Because it's a very important element.
Yes.
I always ask people about behavior questions because I believe even for people to onboard in new products, it's a behavior issue.
Yes,
You
definitely.
need to help people who were initially just meeting at a place, selling, exchanging the products with money, cash, and you want to onboard them online. But you also want to onboard them online to keep their money there in a wallet
That they can't see.
that they can't see, they can't
Physically,
touch
yeah.
the money, right? And our pastor says, "Money is king, cash is king, rather." Right? So cash is king because people want to say, "I have the money and I'm feeling it."
Yeah.
What has these projects that you've worked before in your consulting space taught you about behavior change, but also just the whole setup of African audiences?
I'll start with African audiences.
Yeah.
So digital access is a great thing for Africans.
Yeah.
What it does is it also puts the communicator in a paradox where behavior changes as soon as there is access to information. And I've always said this, when it comes to social media, when it comes to digitalization, it is the fact that I might have a certain predisposition that is not approved by my society, but that as soon as I jump on TikTok and I see it approved elsewhere, now I'm empowered. And so now what you're fighting, or what it is that empowers the communication, what it is that empowers the behavior change, is always running ahead of you. But at least with African audiences, and audiences just globally as well is that there's quick feedback, and nobody has a stronger opinion than an African, I would dare say. And so, with online at the moment, you get instant feedback. If you release something that doesn't work, people will already tell you.
Yeah.
And the reason they would tell you it doesn't work is because they are aware enough that that product is available. So on the comp side, we've done the brand awareness work, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is causing that bit of behavior change and them uptaking the product is because they know how easy it could become, but they've also seen it be uptaken in other places as well, right? So therefore, it's almost like, oh, I really wish I could keep my money in a wallet. Wait a second, I jumped on TikTok.
Yeah.
Somebody who's an SME just like me is talking about this wallet.
Yeah.
Therefore, if there's a wallet that I can use locally, then I want to try, right? And so they want to try that wallet, but they're also going to feedback quite quickly. If they're not happy with your product and they saw wallets on social media, guess where they're going to go to tell people about how bad your product is. So when it comes to like behavior change, when it comes to African audiences, everything changes as quick as people have access to that information. So even when it comes to crypto, even when it comes to blockchain, it's as simple as hearing about it and then saying, okay, let me actually do some research, and once they have that research, then the behavior change kind of starts, and that awareness is already there. Now there needs to be that empowerment and that pivoting as soon as that instant feedback is coming back. And so I'm now tying it back to Devdraft. We're hoping that that instant feedback can help us really build a product that works well for the continent through that early pilot program.
Yeah, true. Well, I think I'm interested with that air power program because I think one of the things that every person who's building a new product or launching a new product have to learn is to see how that product actually works with people and then see what kind of reactions will come through. And I think you have explained communication well, where you're talking about pushing information and then for you to know that it has really worked or people are not happy with it, they give you feedback.
Yes.
Right? So how are you going to get the feedback? How would you want to do it? How would you want to test and hear from people in Africa? Because people say, and I've said people in Africa, they can be, they can. How do you think it's going to be different if the same product was launched in maybe like in Asia or Europe? How would you think the feedback will be collected in this context?
I think we definitely should see different levels of uptake across the globe. And then also from there, it's also understanding or giving people on the continent license to the fact that we actually want the truth as it is. So if the product works, please tell us. And if it doesn't, please tell us. And when it comes to clients like Hire Africa, right? And when it comes to developers, we're saying, please, like, plug in our API, read through our docs and tell us this doesn't work for us. And that's what we want to hear. And so we're hoping to get as much information as we possibly can through this waitlist, through that early pilot program, so that we can actually continue to pivot the product. We are not so committed to the product that our customers don't matter. We are rather committed to the customer, and our job is to serve those customers. Now, there's so many different payment wallets on the continent at the moment, but if you ask anybody, customer service is an issue.
It's a big issue, and that's the reason I'm asking you about how you're going to listen to the voices of people. Because I know of people that have developed products and have launched those products, but it's never about the product even after launch when they've been given feedback and they don't even do anything about it. As long as they just tick a box to say, we pre-tested, we did this, right? And I think you have to do it. One of the things that I think would work specifically for products like this one is experiences. I think I was at a product testing this other time. I think having an experience with a product and talking to the product team in this other environment where people listen to people like SMEs or even platforms like us, where we're building and so okay, fine, we've tested it and this is what is happening in an environment that people are sharing. It's just it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. I've seen that happening a lot, where people are getting their customers and they treat them with this other like event, and it's not like conference per se, but it's a place where people are just testing it live
Yes.
together with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're telling you right away, I'm clicking this, it's not working. And this even connection with the API is taking forever.
Yes.
I'm not getting what I requested with the API core and everything.
Yes.
So I think the experience part, because I think Africans will love to experience
Yes.
than just to hear that, okay, fine, it works, but to
want to see
experience
and
it.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you embed experience as part of the feedback mechanism
Yeah.
that you get as part of this part, is going to be an amazing thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
especially for developers, we actually have live testing.
Amazing.
Right? As a part of the product. So they're able to actually access not only our documentation, they're able to access the SDK files,
Yeah.
and they're able to actually live test to see if it works well for them, and then to see if they can plug it in to different e-commerce outlets and to see how that works.
yeah, in practice, yeah.
So when it's done like that, and when you can give feedback, and we're waiting,
Yeah.
right? We're waiting for that feedback. This early access program is an extended program, so we're waiting for that feedback, and we've got a team that is ready to catch those problems, to send what needs to be sent to the engineers and the customer service team, and to handle inquiries during that time, so that we can actually build for the customer.
Cool. You also led some train of trainers. I know you as a good trainer, and I think people need to know that if they're looking for a corporate trainer, you do it well, right? I know you have done this. You've done a lot of work with the youth to do youth empowerment.
Yeah.
You have done a lot of capacity building to different organizations. How do we support African creatives and freelancers and strategists to play a bigger role in tech? Because sometimes I see this disjoint where tech is seen as,
For coders.
yes, for
For
coders.
developers, yeah.
But you see that even the creatives, they're benefiting from the same. There are most of those creatives that are supposed to even put their courses online, and they can't even do it because they'll be like, how am I going to get paid, right? Why is it important for other people that are in different spaces where you have been leading the trainer courses and stuff? Why do you think it's important for them to also start thinking about the offers that Devdraft, right?
Yes.
Devdraft is bringing to the table?
I think it's so important because it opens them up to the global economy,
Yeah.
right? And globalization is a real thing. And regardless of whether we have infrastructure or not, the fact thereof is that globalization is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
And there's products out there that are on the market that could actually extend your income streams and your ability to make money as an individual, as a freelancer, as a creative, right? And we do ourselves a disservice when we're not informed about the systems that could actually work in our favor. When you were asking your question of why is it important, the first thing that came to mind is it will become important to them when they understand the markets, the global market size, of offering their product in the creative space, right? So you've got people who should be selling courses, right? And we're seeing videos of like people selling courses and making a lot of money. So once you've got that knowledge, you then understand, oh, it's actually possible for me. Now, can you sell those courses? Yes, you can. What we want to help you do is have a place where you can keep that payment and then have a place where you can off-ramp that payment for local use as well, right? But it's super, super, super important for creatives to understand the global market size when it comes to global payments. And just to put it in perspective, the global markets, the size is 156 trillion US dollars.
Okay, 156 trillion US dollars.
Yes.
The global market.
Global market. Now let's speak about the African market.
Is this market specific for a particular sector, like a tech?
Global payments.
Just the global payments.
Just global payments at the moment. And Africa's very untapped. And then when you think about the potential and the current power of Africa, it's actually 80 billion US dollars.
Wow.
So there's 80 billion US dollars worth of global payments, remittances, payments coming in and moving as well that you're not a part of.
Yeah.
And you're a creative and a freelancer
and you're expecting
and you're
to
selling
grow.
a service and you want to be a millionaire. I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It becomes important once you understand the market size.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it reaffirms to you and it opens up your mind to what the possibility is.
Yes.
I remember when I was running my one of my first businesses, I had heard of somebody who had made 1 billion kwacha in their first quarter.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, it would be great if we could make 20 million. Do you get what I mean? And when I heard that, I said, wait, that's actually possible?
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes important to you. Because now the scope and scale of what you can do is unimaginable at that point.
Yeah. The Malawi market is big to us, yes, but it's no bigger.
Yes.
The African market is bigger, but it's not everything.
Yes.
The global market is the best market to
Yes.
be. So I think every person that is building a product or is working and wants to maximize their earnings or just maximize their potential, I think the global market is where we have to be.
Yeah.
And I think we have what it takes. And there's so many people that have what it takes. Creatives, strategists, freelancers who are so good. But because they're limited to one market, which is quite small.
Yes.
And maybe because of the other challenges that would happen internally, you will be affected because money is not moving and so forth. But you could tap to a bigger market, but you're not.
Yeah.
You're limited to something else. And that's a big thing. And I wanted to hear that from you because you think you have worked with so many of these sectors of people. Anyway, what does building for Africa mean to you?
To me, building for Africa means building startups that last at least 100 years old and
Wow.
that transcend generations.
100 years
Old.
old.
On a personal level,
Yeah.
I've done extensive research about businesses that outlast African-owned businesses
Yeah.
or African-founded businesses that outlast generations.
Yeah.
And they're very hard to find.
And that's true.
Which is so interesting because why does the business die with the generation? That is my biggest problem. And so building for the next generation of Africans is building startups and building solutions that outlast the generations to come.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, it means that we actually carry weight when it comes to the global conversation.
Yeah.
Because we have a company with history. We have products that have been shipped out with history. And there is a point where that history becomes legacy.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really important. And that's what it means to me. And what it also means is being a part of unicorn status companies or startups on the African continent built by Africans.
True. It's interesting. I think there's a side of the economy that people don't see because maybe sometimes the mindset of most of the Africans has always been not to build, but to always work for enterprises that have been developed already. And I think that's why people would argue that the African economy is built on NGOs and the donor to like a recipient kind of mentality.
Yes.
Where we receive the resources and then we use and we get a bit of admin cost and that's how we survive. But I think building for Africa is starting to think beyond the NGOs.
Yes.
Is to start thinking about what are our problems that we're still dealing with up to now. We're still dealing with the same problems for years. And we understand those problems. We know how to survive in those problems. I remember this other friend of mine asked me that, how do you even survive in Malawi? Because when they look at Malawi, right,
Yes.
and they think about, okay, fine, I think people are really struggling in that country. But no, yes, the struggle can be there, but we survive.
Yeah.
And our survival story is our product.
Exactly.
Our survival story is our product, but we don't see that. And we always want to still receive a solution from somewhere. That's why I like that two Zambians teaming up with your brilliant mind and selling and everything else. You're even thinking about pushing this product to this country. Anyway, let's talk about tech talent. And because we're about tech talent here.
Yeah.
Hi Africa is about tech talent, is about connecting tech talent to governments, to different companies and so forth. From your view, being an insider of Devdraft and beyond, what skills and mindset are essential for Africa's future workforce now? Because that's what I want to get on board. Yes.
Okay. So, in my career, I've done a lot of hiring and firing, and I've also done a lot of training when it comes to like success training, and even in the work that I do.
Yeah.
And when I look at the next workforce or the global workforce that's coming out of Africa, I would say it's actually the qualification carries 45% weight out of 100%. And then I would say that the next 20% is actually carried by the ability to do. It's not okay for you to just say that you can build a website. That's the 45% from like your qualification.
Yeah.
Okay, now build me a website. Then that 20% must work, right? And when you build me a website and it doesn't work, and I tell you, oh, actually, when I click this button, now you can't fix it. Now you're talking about you now need to subcontract somebody else. It must work. That's the 20%.
Yeah.
Now, then the remaining percentage, which now we're at 65%. So now you're looking at that good
25 or something.
Yeah, 35% there. That rest of that 35% is actually what's come out in the Future of Work report by the Economic Forum, right? That report is so interesting because it's something I learned at British Council. We spoke about the things we learned in the past. And something that has become extremely evident to me when it comes to like hiring and firing. And it is the fact that you must have analytical skills and you must have creativity, right? Because we're building for the future. We're not building for now. So creativity is really, really important. And then on top of that, you must have critical thinking and problem solving skills. Every African who wants to work on the global scale, if you are not a problem solver, you are simply not gonna win. And I always say this, like, when you come to me with a problem, come to me with a proposed solution. Otherwise, don't come at all. Because, like, you're going to pull the weight of everybody else. And when you're working for global companies, the momentum, right? The turnaround times, they're so swift. And so you have to be just as swift. And so yes, get the paper, get the qualification, get the training, and then don't just get it so you can hold up a paper and say, you know, this is the paper. Actually be able to do the work. And when you do it excellently. And then when you come across problems, be analytical. Add some creativity, some pizzazz. And then also solve problems, right? Critically think through things and solve those problems so that you can actually embed yourself into the organization and work really, really well.
One of the big problems that I know is going to affect so many people, workers and so forth, is AI. AI is going to kill so many roles because people have mastered the art of doing the same thing every day without even thinking about how to add value beyond the current offering. So it is very important, and I agree with you, it's very important for people to understand where creativity is being seen as a variable attribute of a person. Because even with AI, you need creativity. For you to get the best prompt of your whatever next idea, next song, next movie script, you need to be creative. And I think that's what AI is bringing in, is to challenge the status quo and help us to go back to the basics, where we have to start thinking. Because there was a time, where everybody stopped thinking. It's like, okay, fine, this is how things are done. We request money from a donor, this is what we do, and life goes on. But things are changing right now. Roles that we have right now will change.
Definitely.
And I think there is a place for creativity. There's a place for analytical skills. For you to read the room and be able to say, this is how best we can do it outside the machines.
And when it comes to AI, you know, I always laugh about this. Have you seen those like job application cover letters where it says, "Hi, my name is and I am so excited." It's an AI marker. Like,
I'm so excited. I'm thrilled.
Yes.
through it is like, yeah, it's
Like, why is it there?
so AI.
So I think creativity in one place is creativity in it
Yeah.
shows up everywhere. And
Yeah.
I speak a lot about how discipline in one place
Yeah.
is actually an indication of discipline everywhere.
Yeah.
So even if you're going to use AI, because maybe, you're not the most creative, it takes application of some level of creativity and attention to detail
Yeah.
and understanding that if you found AI,
Yeah.
everybody else has found it, and being analytical enough to think, it's given me this idea. How can I change it? How can I give more? How can I add value?
Yeah.
Because if what you compute on AI is better than what you could give, why should people keep you?
Yep.
And then worse off, AI gives you the thing that's better than you, and you
Yeah.
don't even refine it to make it better.
Yeah.
What value are you
What value
adding?
are you adding? It's a big question, and I know it's a difficult question even to reflect over.
Yeah.
Because the question is, are you even upskilling to a level that AI would be able to be better, but you can also show that, okay, fine, all the AI tools are here, but this is what I bring on the table. And I think that is going to be a difficult thing. And that takes me to the other discussion. One of your stronghold is storytelling. No one can dispute that. People that will be watching this episode will be like, yay, that woman. And I've told you that I don't think you're celebrated enough because I know you. And I know so many stories about how people sometimes don't see that kind of value in a person, and they realize later on that, okay, fine, that was a diamond, but we didn't even say it. What is the role of storytelling in startups? Because I think it's powerful. It's like if I was building something, I was like, okay, fine, Chiko, okay, fine, get 70%, I'll get 30. But what's the role of storytelling?
The role of storytelling when it comes to startups, I believe, is really driving the voice of the brand, right? And making sure that when it comes to the story of the brand, that it's not built for vibes, that it's actually the story that matters, right? And it's then building that story with people and creating not only a customer journey, but a customer experience that allows the customer to understand that I have been a part of this, right? So when it comes to storytelling, I put it very simply. Anytime I am at my business, right, and somebody comes in and says, oh, we didn't know this whole time we were buying from you. We always say, oh, we're buying from Chiko, we're buying from Chiko. I always say, when you see me well kept, it is because you sustain me. And so that's a part of storytelling, right? It is the fact that your audience and your customer actually builds the voice. And so your job as a storyteller is to, one, drive the direction of the initial voice. And then from there, it's to pivot from the feedback that you are getting, right? So that your customers become the voice of the brand. And if you can do that, and if you can understand, especially in startups, that customers are what sustain us, and they're what keep us, and they're what keeps us ahead of the competition because we listen to them, then we have done storytelling well.
And how have you built yourself to be able to be articulative and be able to explain these things better in this way? I know you from way back, and I remember when I was your boss then. If it was in a meeting, I would prefer you to speak than myself. I was like, no. She's better at explaining things as me.
Things.
Yeah, but this is true. Like, how did you craft that art, and how did you perfect it over time? What have you been doing?
I think it then goes back to the previous question you asked about storytelling. If there's a challenge I found in any industry is that people want to be very complex, right? People want to use excessive jargon without understanding who the audience across the table is. So the way that Devdraft would speak to investors and the way that Devdraft would speak to developers is not the same as the way that Devdraft would speak to SMEs and enterprises. Their needs are so different, and the things they're concerned about are very different. So I do think that one of my greatest gifts is being able to understand very complex things and simplify them in a way in which they can be understood.
Yeah.
Right? So I think just like wanting to say, okay, yeah, I get that. I get that, yes, because I've got the experience and I've got the paper, but how can somebody else get that? And then articulate that. That has been what has allowed me to be able to articulate well over time. And then I also always tell people this, like, read. Read. Not just read things. Commit to the discipline of reading a book, right? And I know a lot of people are readers. Some read a book a month, some read a book every 3 months, some read one every week, but be an avid reader.
Yeah.
The misconception when you read is that you gain more knowledge.
Yeah.
But it's actually, that's not what it does for communication and articulation.
Yeah.
The understanding is that when you read, it helps you build pace. And so if you can build pace in understanding information, you can build pace in relaying information. And I think that's really helped me to be able to see something in a book and say, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. And then to go back and to understand that if I ever had to explain that concept, if it didn't make sense to me, surely it won't make sense to you.
Yeah.
And that's not saying anything about your IQ. It's just saying that it's a difficult concept to understand. So if I had to pace myself and slow down over that part of the book, then when I explain and articulate it, I have to slow down on that particular concept. So communication-wise, I'd love to tell you that I was just born this way, but it's been a good mix of just like career progression and learning my lessons, but also doing some reading and learning. I do watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of news. I'm very interested in concepts, and then I make it my job to know how to communicate those concepts in a no jargon manner.
In a simple way.
Yeah.
And make sure that people understand. Because communication is supposed to be pushed. And people have to feedback. And feedback is when people understand.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
If they don't understand, yes, it's feedback, but it doesn't work for you. Because you haven't actually communicated effectively. Anyway, let's do like a rapid fire round with you. So I have like a quick questions for you just to answer quickly, and let's see if we can do that. What is one campaign that you are most proud of in your career?
I've been proud of very many.
Okay.
There's two I'm equally proud of.
Okay.
So the first has to be the Groundnut Tour in Malawi. That was done by the Palladium Group. US Aid, Irish Aid as well. US Embassy, Irish Aid as well. And as well as Pixis. I really enjoyed that. It wasn't a campaign. It was a large-scale event to do with investors. And I believe that my gifts really showed in that. And we worked with an amazing team. So that has to be one. And then parallel to that, it has to be this, which is not a campaign, it's a product, but it's one I believe in and one that works. So this has to be my favorite.
Amazing. What is one product you wish you built?
Canva. Without a shadow of a doubt. Canva, if you're watching.
Hey, do you know, I remember you from the British Council days. Canva was everything for you. Like, okay.
Submit reports to you that were done in Canva. Canva.
Yes. No, I didn't expect that, but it just reminded me of those days when Canva was everything. And
everything.
Do you know that even
is.
Because I was just a Photoshop person, right? Until when we made that time, and I started paying attention to Canva. And right now I do
on Canva.
Life has to be simple, right? Yeah, cool. Okay. Who is your favorite African brand right now? What is your favorite? Right?
Personal brand. Linked to many businesses. A Nigerian woman called Mo Abudu. She is the CEO of the Ebony Life Group. So when you think Ebony Life, you're thinking of the TV channels. There's a hotel chain. There is now an academy as well. That is my favorite.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. How did you discover her?
Instagram. I also read up on like a lot of African female CEOs and ex-core level women because I want to know what's possible for myself out there.
Amazing. Okay. A lesson from working with global donors or investors. What is it? One or two.
Show up excellently.
Okay.
Yeah. And trust, and always remember, even when you receive pushback, that out of everybody they interviewed, they picked you. And so there's something they trusted in you. Don't invalidate that. Validate that with your excellence.
Amazing. What would your 20-year-old self not believe you are doing right now?
That I'm an executive at 29. And that I became an executive earlier. She would be screaming.
You'll be like, no way. Not that Chiko, right?
No, so she would actually think, I know we always wanted to get there, but I'm so glad we've gotten here so much sooner. Yeah.
That's good. All right, cool. What is next for Devdraft? What is happening? I know they launch
30th of June.
30th of June, which is good. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do my wait list. I'm gonna sign up for that wait list so that at least I can check it out and see how Africa can leverage the platform.
Yes.
But what is next?
For us, it's really that phase 3 of localization. So post the pilot, and even during pilot, we're having conversations around localization so that people can off-ramp their money so that they can actually spend it locally.
Yeah.
And we believe that's like the real game changer as well. And when we get that done, obviously there's then other solutions that we can then present to people.
Yeah.
And then you can go on a wait list or you can access those products. And those are really exciting products that will actually even make global money movement and local money spending very seamless and even easier than what it is at this present moment.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. That sounds cool. How can people connect with Devdraft's early access alpha? Like, how can they sign up?
Okay, so you sign up by going to www.devdraft.ai. You should get to a landing page where you can sign up for the wait list.
Yeah, amazing. Simple, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Final message. And I think on the final message, I'm going to come back to your personality because I know people. Was I in your interview that time? Was I?
British Council.
Yeah.
For my other two interviews.
For the other two,
because we
right?
always interview just like to get an extension.
To get an extension of the contract. Yeah. But one of the things that I remember I was discussing with someone in the panel then was Chikondi is an amazing person that if she lands in a place where her gifts are properly appreciated, she's going to the moon. Okay, you understand, going to the moon. Now you're in crypto right now, so you understand, to the moon.
To the moon.
Right? So what is it that you can tell women out there, specifically those that are aspiring to go through this journey? Because your journey has been an interesting one where you've taken so many turns, you have taken risks just to venture into businesses and leave the 9-to-5 and start building your own thing. And you're here right now working for a company that is multinational, and obviously you're going to grow bigger to a lot of countries and so forth. What is it that you can advise fellow women that are aspiring for this journey?
I think I would say a couple of things. The first being that it is important to be learned and to be skilled, right? So people must not just have an idea of your expertise when they meet with you. They must be able to confirm that expertise. It takes me back to that 20% I spoke of, right? That yes, you can have the paper and yes, you can have the really great career rap sheet, but that you must actually do, right? And in order to do, you must be learned and you must be well skilled and you must be able to deliver. And that's one thing. And then the other thing that I would say is the ability to read the room and to respond accordingly. Right? So I feel like that's not just for women, it's for just the next generation of like people in the workforce, is being able to read both verbal and non-verbal cues, and to understand how verbal cues can move between non-verbal cues, can move and align between you and I and other people sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can understand that and respond accordingly, you are able to pick up when you have said something wrong. You're able to pick up from the temperature of the room when you've done something wrong. You're able to understand when you've done something great. And therefore, you're accountable to those things. You're no longer just, I'm a woman in this space and I'm great and everybody must accept me the way I am. That is the first way to fail. It is actually that I work well with others by collaborating because I can read the room and I can understand the undertones of communication that are going on in the room. And I know how to work with them so that they work in my favor or at my disadvantage.
Yeah.
And I know when the room is swaying against me.
Yeah.
And that's not always a bad thing. And it leads me to my last point, which is knowing when to concede defeat. And this comes to vision. You will make many career decisions in your lifetime as a woman who has a career and is wanting to be at executive level, or is wanting a career, maybe that's not at executive level. Because you've got that vision in mind, you have to understand that it's not always important to win every battle. The goal is to win the war, right? So I love studying like battle strategies.
Yeah.
You must understand which cities and which territories are important. Those are the ones I'm going to fight for. The others, I'm indifferent to them.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have an opinion and still be indifferent. I always say this, and if anybody's worked with me, has done business with me, has implemented projects with me, sometimes they say, oh, Chiko, what do you want to do about this? Or Chiko, can you weigh into this? And I'll say, I'm actually indifferent to that. Because in the larger scheme of things, and in the priorities that matter to me, it's actually not that it's irrelevant, but it actually doesn't give me enough swinging power to get us to where we need to go. So I don't need to win every argument. And when the room sways against me, I don't always have to come up in defense because I get to pick and choose my battles. And in order to win the war, you just need to win the biggest territories. And those are the territories you decide to invest your energy to fight for. And that's what I would say to women. I would say it is such an important skill to be able to know, I want to win the war. And if I want to win the war, it's not my way goes each time. It's actually that this is a journey of collaboration. And I will need your support. I will need your input. And I will need your leverage. And I'm choosing not to make use of it now, not because I am blind, but because I am aware of the strategy at play. And that will take you everywhere. That will take you everywhere.
Cool. Sounds like a masterclass, like masterclass with Chiko. That was good. I think the advice that you have given here is quite important. I don't want to put some words on top of it, but I think one of the things that is very important for people that are in the workforce, specifically women, is to understand that the workforce is brutal. It's brutal. It's a brutal space. So sometimes, yes, you consider yourself, okay, because I'm a woman, this is happening, but you just have to fight in that kind of space, but also choose your enemies wisely. There's a book that I want to read somewhere. It says, choose your enemies wisely. So, okay, fine, this is what I can fight for. And you're calling them territories, right?
Yes.
You need to focus on those territories and make sure that you win, because people don't win based on winning everything. They win based on what? Winning the specifics and the niche area. Amazing. Ash. So we can talk forever.
Yes.
But I'm so happy that you came.
Thank you for having me.
I don't want you to leave without saying anything that is in your mind right now. Maybe even about the product, dev drafts, or anything. Is there something that we may have skipped that you want to emphasize on? Or we good?
That I want to emphasize on small to medium enterprises and big enterprises. We are your people. So you should also sign up for that wait list so that we can serve you and understand what your problems are and fix them. Because what we want to do is to write that Devdraft story for you.
Amazing. Great. It's always good to focus on the multipliers, because that's what usually happens. And that's why I've known that most of the times when you say, my business is B2C, people are like, B2B, yeah, because people know that B2B is a way to go when it comes to multiplying, specific in the tech space. Amazing. So excited that you came.
Thank you.
It's been a while. We spoke about this interview yesterday, right?
Yes.
That's how I usually set my
Yes.
interviews. It's not like I take forever to say, okay, fine, we need to do this. Of course, I have people that we're discussing, like, we need to do it. We need to do it. But with you, I knew that, yeah, there's something that is happening with you.
Yeah.
And I'm always excited to see you win.
Thank you.
I'm always excited to see you making the impact, because this is what you were born to do.
Thank you.
And you are doing it right. So anyway, guys, if you want to join the wait list, go to www, because there are 3 W's,
Yes.
right? Devdraft.ai, right? You'll find the link to the wait list there. I'm gonna be there. I want to test this platform because Hire Africa is gonna be giving that kind of platform for you to work and earn money while you're in Africa, as a freelancer and so forth. But while that is happening, we'll also be paid properly through this infrastructure, right? So this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming through, and you have a great time.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.